What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jack Ramsays post-game show, live show, doing all of the things. Blazers win a road game. Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague. Blazers win 125-110 over the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets continue to suck. The Blazers put three different players have over 20 or 25 or more in Yusuf Nurkic, CJ McCollum, and Anfernee Simons. The Blazers did what they needed to do against a really bad team. They had a third quarter that probably don't want to watch back, as it was just a dunk competition for Kenyon Martin Jr. And none of it matters because it's the Houston Rockets and you're on to the next, and you've got the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are really bad as well. Brandon, what was your takeaway from tonight's it's a bit of a snooze fest?
I think you summed it up. It doesn't matter. Do we trade Nurkic or do we sign Nurkic to an extension?
You want to get right into it?
I mean, we can talk a little bit about the game. I thought Ant was exceptional. There were a couple moments that, and I joined the live watch party late, but we and you both kind of like noticed it, and you said it when CJ came to get the ball, and Ant was like,
"You sure about that, pumpkin?"
And then he drove the lane, bodied a dude, and got a nice little an and one finish there. So. I really liked what I saw from him. Nurkic played really hard. And I may not have been the prettiest game, but he gave you a decent game. That's really all I have. I don't know what else to take away from that. The Rockets are awful. They are taking harder than Portland. And so I kind of knew going in that they were going to end up losing a ping pong ball in this thing. But it was nice to see Ant play well.
Yeah, I thought Ant played really well. He kind of sat back and kind of saw what everybody else was going to do for a few minutes and was like,
"Yep.
Y'all are really going to make me do this, aren't you?" Took over a little bit in the fourth quarter. 27 points on another efficient night. 27 points on 17 shots. 5 of 9 from the three-point line. If I'm going to criticize him, every starter got to the line multiple times, save Anfernee. He did not get to the line at all.
I'm not jumping way ahead here. I'm not trying to rush to a conclusion. When does that become somewhat worrisome? How many seasons?
Next year. Well, the signs will be there.
Yeah.
And the thing was, he did have aggressive takes tonight. We just talked about him. I think it was Jalen Green that he went chest to chest with and just knocked him back 10 feet and finished through contact. That's I've seen him do that maybe a half dozen times in 4 years.
Oh, he was a bull on that move. Yeah. I mean, that was...
Yeah, that was... And that's the kind of thing where you look at it and go, okay. There was... he also got called for a foul, I believe, was also on Jalen Green, where Jalen Green tried to bump him off, and Ant stuck his face in there maybe a little too far, but he knocked Jalen Green back the other way.
Yep.
And it was nice to see a guy who's smaller and hasn't really learned how to use his frame on a guy that's younger and lighter than him. Like, that's how when you go up that evolutionary ladder, Yusuf Nurkic looks down at everybody and says, "Puny humans." You know, that he can use his size and his strength against everybody, whether he's 18 years old or he's 35 years old. That's always going to be there.
Right.
But as you get a little bit older, the grown man strength comes. And I'm not asking him to be grandmama. He doesn't need to be Larry Johnson out there, drop stepping dudes into another dimension. But if you can put a shoulder into a guy every now and then, draw some contact, get to the free throw line, all right. But overall, I loved his game tonight. 2 possessions I wish he had back. Both he lost the ball. One, high pressure. They took the ball away from him. The other one in traffic made a kind of a iffy decision. Other than that, like, people always ask me, when are you going to get critical of Ant? When are you going to get critical of Ant? We're getting there. I have a rule. You don't criticize guys until their second contract. So as Ant's getting closer and closer to it, I start honing in on, okay, he's doing this really good. He's doing this really good. He's doing this good. This little thing over here, what's this little thing over here? That's why I want to start kind of going with this, and I want to hone in on stuff that I really am looking for over the next 3 months as he get ready to go into the offseason. If he comes back, like, what do you want to see him work on? That's kind of how I'm watching these games now, at least.
And this is not to say this happens every game. This isn't to say it's happened more than 5 times. It's just a simple observation. He's had a couple times preseason and a couple times in the regular season. Tonight, you just mentioned it, where teams are able to apply enough pressure, and sometimes he gets a little loose with the handle.
He knows it.
And they're able to kind of poke that away.
Yep. No, he spent last summer working on his handle. He was working with Darren Collison. I want to plug the facilities that I can't remember. I know he's done some work at the P3 Sports and Science Center, but that's not where it was. Darren Collison worked with him a ton. I think he was down there for like 2 weeks in L.A., just literally working on his handle and like the point guardy things.
Yeah.
Hezzy, split, step through, push dribble, like keeping the ball on a string even when it's away from your body. Like those are the kind of things he's been really working. And he's still got work to do, but he is better than he was last year. And so I'm one of those things where I look at it and I go, he's still got work to do, but he can get better in that regard. I don't see that being an issue for him.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the things that I think NBA players can work on, I feel like your handle is one of the ones that you can legitimately no BS improve.
Oh,
just through repetition and going like this.
Yes.
And so that's the one thing, and I like. And where I find this promising, and somebody else just kind of call this out in the chat. Bryce says Ant does seem to put Nurk in better spots. There were people in like November and even early December who were like, I don't know if Anfernee Simon is able, capable playmaker of being able to put the ball in a spot that it needs to be. Have you seen how many times over the last 2.5, 3 weeks that he has made an inch perfect pass to Nurk on a roll?
Yeah,
where he doesn't have to reach down, doesn't have to reach out. And when I see that kind of that growth, that talent, like natural talent turning into a skill, that's where I look at his handle and I go, okay, this is something he clearly is working on. Let's see where it's at next year. Let's see what it looks like when he comes into camp. Let's see what it looks like in preseason into next year.
I think he's done this with the right and the left, the nice like kind of swing over pass that he's able to do when he's coming off a screen.
He had that to McCollum earlier in the fourth quarter.
And then the other thing he does, a little different than Dame, because Dame's obviously amazing with Nurk in the pick. When he comes over and he's not swing passing, he kind of uses like this touch athletic jump pass type deal, like where he kind of gets up and it's like a quick little toss to him almost. It's hard to explain, but you know what I'm talking about?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I love these. I can't remember who was talking about that. It might have been Richmond the other day. He was talking about micro skills, because I focus on micro skills a lot when you're talking about footwork and pass placement and those kind of things. I love that stuff. Şengün for the Rockets tonight had a spin move that was like,
yeah.
And I didn't care about the finish. It was all about the control and the footwork and everything he did. It was such a natural, beautiful thing. And I was like,
the finish will come with that. If you can master that move, the finish, I mean, it'll
and it's
follow.
The same thing. Like, you have point guards who do these little things. Like we've talked about Steve Nash, when a new teammate would come in, where do you want the ball? And that's such like, how many people have you ever played a sport with where they asked you how you like something as a teammate? It's such a rare thing.
I honestly don't know if I've had it once.
Right. And that's the thing is like,
but I also grew up in Park Rose. So like,
but I mean, in general, I don't think people actively think about those things.
Yeah.
Like a wide receiver. Do you like catching it in tight in the chest, or do you want to be stretched out? Do you want to be led to your right? Do you want to be led to your left? Like, those are the kind of things like, and to translate into the NBA, I think Ant, that little jump pass, that's his way of putting the ball where Yusuf Nurkic wants it.
Because Nurk, not to say Dame is throwing low passes, but Dame will kind of get him right here, and he'll want to naturally then go down and up.
And he brings the ball down. When you put the ball here already, number one, big fella catch ball up high.
Yep.
When ball is up high, ball can stay high.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a little, like a little tiny micro skill that I really like to watch for.
Well, I hope he's doing that. It's pro athletes just in general in any sport, they operate very differently, and they operate in a way that you and I want to operate in life, but I don't think people apply when they're talking about sports. So I'll give you an example. Like, I just heard an interview today, Ricky Williams, the former running back. Mm-hmm. He was asked about a former teammate who was throwing a tantrum in practice. And they were basically like, how do you get out of that situation? And because it had to do with Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. And he said, for athletes, it can be as simple as the people that need the attention. It's as simple as saying, hey, what play are you looking at? And it's as simple as you running one play. And that player's like all in on what you're doing for the entire game. Like for another player, let's use Ant here. Mm-hmm. If he is asking guys like Nurk, like, hey, where do you like prefer the ball on a roll? I don't know if he is. Maybe he's not. No. But like,
I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying, but if in general, that's his way of just kind of feeling that out.
athletes love that kind of stuff, man, because it's exactly what. How many times have you had that asked? I've never had that asked, but if I did, I would appreciate it.
I only say this. I played with a guy in Chris Tyak, a good friend of mine growing up. He was a quarterback at Beaverton High School. Unfortunately, he got in an accident on the field and was paralyzed. But I grew up playing with him. And I remember, I will always forget this because of how like rare this occurrence was. We were getting ready to play Aloha High School. And in pregame, we were going through the walkthrough, and he always used to just rip it at me. He just had a cannon.
Yeah.
And he always used to kind of put it like right here. And it was like, he's like, oh, I thought you wanted it there because you've got the cowboy collar and you can't reach the ball. And I was like, no, dude, put it right here. Like, lead me upfield. He's like, just like on the one hand. I was like, yeah, lead me upfield. And they did. It was an option route as a running back, last little check down, and he boop and put it on one hand. I turned it upfield and took it like 60 yards. And it was the longest pass play I ever had in football. That's part of the reason why it sticks out. But the other part of it was just like that consideration and like, oh yeah, no, exactly. And again, I don't know if Ant is doing this, but I just like that little kind of thing, those micro skills, like for Ant in particular, the floater. Like he has that in-between game now where it's everybody watches the shot, watch his footwork. Watch his footwork on that where he explodes right, left, split. All of a sudden you think he's going to get to a spot and go to that mid-range pull-up. He gives you a little up fake, and you're already rising up, and now he just floats one step later, and you're coming down when he's going up. And those are the little things that you watch in a young player's game as they develop it. I really, really enjoy watching. I could wax poetic about Ant's development until the cows come home, but let's give some love to some guys tonight. CJ, I thought he picked his moments pretty awfully in the first, not even the first quarter, the second and third quarters. I thought he was just kind of, ugh. Fourth quarter, man, he came out, I swear to God, he hit everything. It was just shot after shot after shot after shot, and I was like, good God. He finishes with 26, 5 and 3, 10 of 20, 4-9 from 3. Got poked in the eye, and I heard him.
Boy, that looked bad.
It looked bad. More than that, I think this is the grunting that you heard from him. I was like,
no.
Is he okay? I think part of that is we could hear the arena, like what was going on the floor a ton because there's nobody in the building. But I was like, man, he's you can hear the but it was more of a my eye. You know?
Right.
But overall, I thought he closed out the game tremendously. Yusuf Nurkic had his probably most efficient floor night of the season. It was unfortunately marred by stupid fouls on screens, which I don't necessarily know if I agree with, and 6 turnovers.
Yeah, that was the only thing keeping me back when we talked at the beginning of the pod of me going like, hey, really good game for Nurk. That was the one thing that just kind of ate at me a little bit.
6 a big number.
That's a huge number.
So one thing I noticed tonight is outside of his post touches, he wasn't really touching the ball a ton. They weren't going into the DHOs or running him really as a playmaker in the middle of the floor. But when he shot, man, efficient tonight. 8 of 11, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. That's how you get 25 points on 11 shots.
Mm-hmm.
Good night overall. I thought Norm looked like Norm again, 16, 5 and 2.
Yeah, good night for Norm.
Chose his spots really well, just kind of fit in.
Well, and Norm, I know the who they just play at home. Blaken. Who's the home game? Minnesota?
Wait, what? Oh yeah,
their last home game.
Minnesota, Dallas.
Dallas. Norm a Minnesota game, like Norm came back after,
missing 3 weeks.
Yeah, and he got some shots. I thought Norm kind of did a good job of not doing the CJ thing.
Yes.
And trying to get the ball away from Ant. He kind of just let it kind of flow with what they were doing and how they were doing it. And, that's a difference to me. Like that kind of stuff, it's little, but it's not little. So
no, making the game more enjoyable for guys, I think, is what really matters. And I think I'll use that as a good transition point.
CJ played better statistically, and I think Norm had a better game.
Yeah, I think the way CJ fit in the fourth quarter was a lot better than what it was the previous 3 quarters. Like I said, and I think that whole like enjoyment, fun part of this, I'll use that as a transition because everybody wants to talk about it. Jason, quick article.
Yep.
Yusuf Nurkic specifically said, when guys are on the same page and on this and playing for the same way and playing for the same goals kind of thing, it's more fun. It's more fun. I mean, he's right. It is more fun.
It is. Yeah, I know. But
it was also self-serving in that it's more fun because I get to touch the ball more. And I get 9 post-ups and I get 14 shots. And it's been – I don't want to get in the negative part of it right out of the way, but I find it funny that Nurk's very happy at the same moment that he gets the same amount of shots a game that Jimmy Butler gets for the Heat. In varying levels of importance.
I just think, I think the problem with this Nurkic thing, it's a good piece. Couple questions I have for a guy like Yusuf Nurkic, but he's playing better basketball, and I think it largely has to do with what you're saying here. He's getting the touch, he's getting the shots.
Mm-hmm.
What I get confused about and frustrated with, I'm going to disagree with a lot of people on different Blazer things all the time. That's okay. But what frustrates me is this idea that somebody who's been here for 6 years now,
mm-hmm.
that this is like
they're putting it together,
some light where they've the system and his attitude and the whole approach is different. Like, squeeze me, because when he got here, it was really amazing. He had a great, kind of coming out, I'm not just a backup center, I'm a starting center moment. He put the Blazers from one of the worst teams in the NBA to a playoff team and kind of transformed what they were defensively too. That's great. And then I saw what happened the next 3 years after that. And unfortunately, I saw the injury involved, but I just don't get it, man. This city, sometimes I think we are our own worst enemy because we watched that team lose to Denver, missing stars. We asked for them to break it up. They didn't. We got frustrated. They fired Stotts. Then we finally got rid of Neil Olshey, and we're somehow, however many games they've played now, 50, 45? Where are they at right now?
I think they're actually at 50 now.
They're at 50 games, and we're now changing
49.
our opinion again on Yusuf Nurkic. We know what this is. It's frustrating to me, man, because in any other city, we're not tolerating this.
It's not normal.
We're demanding it to be different. And this idea that he's some different player, cool. You think he's going to be a different player if Dame and CJ or Dame and Ant are playing together? Like, he's going to fall back to being the third option again. And what have we seen with that?
If the third, they still need to get a wing option.
That's my point. He'd want to be the third option, though. That's part of this problem.
In Quick's piece, and I'm not going to try and be too critical of Quick here, but he called Nurk like a 1A or 1B or a number 2 option, and that's just not the case.
No, I don't. That was something that stuck out to me. I'm like differing opinion there with Jason. I don't view him as
here's the thing. Let's just go standard box score real quick just this month for Yusuf Nurkic. He's having a good month. Don't get it twisted. His production is good. I am not here slandering him. I am talking about big picture stuff. Yusuf Nurkic is shooting 50% on almost 14 shots a night, giving you 18, 13, and 4. Those are really good numbers. Really good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't great in the terms of efficiency. He's not knocking down threes. He's not knocking down free throws. He's turning the ball over more than literally everybody. You're giving him tremendous volume. Tremendous volume. His post-ups, like where he uses the possession, has gone from under 3 to over 9.
Yeah.
That is a radical amount of touch increase where you're using a possession. And here's the thing. I like using the big monster to go just bang on dudes. He should. But the efficiency standpoint and how that plays out long term doesn't make sense for the Trailblazers. At all. At all.
Yeah, I don't get it either. You have to deal him. I'm sorry. Like, there's been zero things done to change my tune. And this isn't even just a shot at Nurkic, by the way. This is from an observer from 30,000 feet looking down at a franchise that's clearly ready to kind of go a different direction here and build differently, and a player who's giving pretty good production, playing for a contract that you know what? He actually might benefit going somewhere else. I don't know what team that is, but there's a chance that he can benefit playing on a different team. So it's like a win-win to me. And yet everything with the Blazers, there has to be this like contentious or just fighting nature to the fans of like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. And like, I've seen it. It's a mixture of Nurkic has been really good. I think we bring him back. We build with him. And then I've seen no, you can't do that. And I'm sorry. I just largely and loudly fall into that side of things. This run was good. It was successful. It's over. It needs to be done. It needs to end. And I'm tired of talking about these run it back things. Like I don't want to do that anymore.
And it's just this desire to kind of get locked into that. And here's where I want to kind of take the efficiency part of this, because some people don't really understand where like those numbers rank. His box score numbers are very good, and they need somebody to do it, and he's done it well.
Yeah.
And when I talk about all this stuff, I'm not saying Yusuf Nurkic is a bum or he's not a good player or any of this.
Nobody is saying that right now.
No.
Nobody.
He's a good player who can absolutely impact winning and losing, and he can be a box score stuffing machine. But he has shortfalls. And the Blazers have consistently talked about being bigger, stronger, longer, more athletic, and more switchable. Yusuf Nurkic was taken off the floor the other night against Minnesota because they wanted to be switchable. How can you say that Yusuf Nurkic is the center of your future and be switchable at the same time?
Right.
The reason the Blazers defense has gotten better is, number one, they've gotten people out there who care more over the longer period of time. They've gotten guys out there who are healthier. They've gotten guys that are longer and more athletic, and they've gotten Yusuf Nurkic closer to the rim defensively. Mm-hmm. All of those things have happened, and turns out it makes things look better. So let's look at the offensive side here real quick for Yusuf Nurkic. If I said I'm going to give you every center in the NBA who has played at least 15 minutes a game in the month of January, where Yusuf Nurkic has been very good, where do you think his true shooting percentage ranks?
Look,
I'll give you his true shooting percentage. His true shooting percentage right now is 55.3. Where does 55.3 rank among all centers in the NBA?
18th? 19th?
Survey says 66th.
Oh, I was thinking slightly different situations there, but if he gets you every center, then okay.
But no, these are guys that all play 15 minutes.
Not great. That's so much worse than I could have imagined.
And if you go effective field goal percentage,
I guess 19. You said 66.
little trade. And in effective field goal percentage, you know where he ranks?
108. I don't know.
66th.
Oh my God. Not great there, Bob.
And so let's kind of give the numbers so people understand who's up there. So Dwight Powell, DeAndre Ayton, Daniel Gafford, Zeke Naji, Mitchell Robertson, Robert Williams, Okongwu, Rudy Gobert, Montrezl Harrell, Jokic, Sabonis, Claxton, Biyombo, Markkanen, Green, Zubac, Jared Allen.
Say Rolo.
Say
Rolo.
I think he's right here. Yeah. JaVale McGee, Anthony Davis, Robin Lopez, Jonas Valanciunas.
Their former center, who's at the end of his career, is better in these categories.
He has legitimate holes in his game that are problematic for what they want to do long term.
Yeah.
Is he filling the gap right now as a stopgap? Yes. Because he is, for the things that he doesn't have, you know what he does have, Brandon? He's 7 foot 300 pounds.
A massive human.
Here's 5 guys in the NBA who have a modicum of a chance of dealing with him for 30 minutes a night. And if he gives a shit, which he has, and he takes his time, like he did tonight, he can beat the ever-living hell out of guys.
Okay, so right therein lies the problem. When he gives a shit.
And where.
And it also is predicated about looks. And I'm sorry, we know what this story is. He's going to play with a Dame and with a CJ, and the looks will diminish. And then he'll start out maybe okay. He'll stop getting the basketball for a run and soaking Nurk. It's okay to say these things. It doesn't mean he's a bad player. It's just these are the warts of him. And again, I just think the environment needs to change, because once this thing gets righted, they sign Ant, Dame gets healthy, Nas is back. if you are under the assumption they should sign Yusuf Nurkic, okay, so all those dudes are coming back. You tell me, how many shots is he getting?
8 to 10, maybe.
How's that sitting? And I think most of us know this answer. He's not going to like that. That's part of this equation is he's getting shots. Why are we not acknowledging this? There was no CJ for a long time. There's been no Dame. There will not be a Dame. Who else on this team is going to get these shots? I don't get why we're overlooking that aspect.
He's getting these looks because nobody else can generate them. And we've talked about this last year with Carmelo Anthony in the second unit. Carmelo Anthony was given those shots. One, he was promised them. But two, nobody else could generate looks consistently. Throwing it down to Yusuf Nurkic on any given night, he will generate looks. He may have some bad ones. He may have some okay ones, but he'll have some good ones too. But you are not going to get a live ball turnover at half court, which Ant struggled with last year and has had some issues with big-time pressure this year. If you get a bad shot, it's at the rim, and your defense is able to get back and stop long rebounds and runouts and transition problems, which has also impacted the Blazers' defense because they're able to get back with better floor balance and not have odd man attacks coming back the other way. Excuse me.
Let me ask you this.
Go.
So the other part, and this was the part that made the rounds, but I want to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
This is, by the way, nothing to do with Jason. Do you believe Nurkic when he told Jason that Joe Cronin told him they were running it back with him, Dame and CJ?
I believe that Nurk was told that at that point.
So that would have been like December 3rd, by the way. That's when Neil got fired, December 3rd or 4th.
And Joe's on day one. What do you want? When you step into a new role after something else has gone wrong, what's the first thing you want to do?
Calm everything down.
Everything's good, big fella. We got you.
Yep.
We got you.
Mm-hmm.
You're still a man. Nurk knows it's a business.
Yeah.
Nurk knows it's a business. Like
I think if anything, I kind of took away that piece also reads like, come trade for me. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
the timing of this
I'm the good soldier putting up good stats right now.
The timing of this piece, 11 days before the trade deadline, with nothing but a glowing review. You know what the only negative thing was in that article?
What?
That Nurk thinks Portland's gotten bad, like the city.
Oh, yeah, touche. Forgot about that part of it.
That is the only negative thing in that entire article. Only thing. Well, it is a glowing, effusive praise where he talked about, while statistically true, I kind of like, I did a little bit of an eye roll where he said, Rudy Gobert and Nikola Jokic are the only guys rebounding more than Yusuf Nurkic right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, Nurk's always been a good rebounder. Nobody's really been worried about Yusuf Nurkic as a rebounder.
No. He's had great nights rebounding too, and it's not made a difference in terms of winning or losing for them. Like, I don't know. I think some stats are always different than others, but yeah, that was my big takeaway. Like, I gotta be honest, I've not been very active on Twitter in terms of like my own tweets.
Mm-hmm.
Life is weird sometimes, and I'm like just going through one of those weird, like, I don't know, runs where I don't feel like tweeting, but like I'm interacting with people and I'm retweeting stuff. I was on Twitter today checking, and I'm just like blown away. Like, people are really like, yeah, I could see us needing to sign Nurkic, and I think we bring him back. And I'm like, we don't learn. There's nothing we can do as a team fan-wise for us to truly learn our lesson. A lot of us have. There's still a lot of us that haven't. I was texting.
I don't want to cut you off, but I have to capitalize on this because this kind of drives that point home. I was texting with somebody who works in the NBA the other day, and I said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." But I changed it to, fool me the sixth time, shame on me. And he was
like, shame on me.
And he texted me back, Nurkic, huh? And I was like, and it has nothing to do with Yusuf Nurkic. I think Yusuf Nurkic you throw Yusuf Nurkic in Toronto with a bunch of hyper athletic wings.
That's a good situation.
Where he's your backline defender. You're like, yes. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense.
And they'll win too. They'll be winning. He'll feel great about that. Behind
Damian Lillard? No.
Yeah.
Behind Damian Lillard, I want 6'5" Anfernee Simons. I want 6'7", 6'6" Nasir Little types. I want 6'8", 6'9" Jeremy Grant. And then I want Clint Capella. or I want Miles Turner, or I want just like a stupidly hyper athletic, and then I want a guy off the bench like Larry Nance Jr.
Yeah.
That's what I want behind Damian Lillard.
I don't know. I'll just finish the thought. I thought I was going to get on Twitter after reading that piece and see people saying, "Oh, good for Nurk. He seems happy right now."
But now I'm good.
a new place, a new start will be great. Like that was instantly my takeaway was like, I'm happy. Come get me. Like that was my takeaway from the piece. So for me to get on Twitter and see I wouldn't say split because Twitter's not real, but to see a decent percentage of people on my timeline or just looking at like reactions to it, actually going, we need to bring him back. I'm like, bro, we know how this goes. We've lived through this for 6 years. We have to stop. I get that this city does not get free agents. Totally get it. I won't.
Which is why you make trades, so you don't have to sign free agents.
But I think part of that, I think it almost is detrimental to the fans, to even some media. Like I almost think we live in this world that's like, we can never do better than this guy. We have to keep him. So we settle, and I'm like, I'm okay with them taking some swings, and if it means they go into the crapper once in a while, I can live with that. But try to be better and bringing back the pieces when you've clearly plateaued. That's not trying to be better.
And Forrest is one of the big points where you can't get much for Nurk. I think you get decent value for Nurk. But the thing is, you're not trading Yusuf Nurkic for another big because you're trading him to a team that needs a big. And that's what makes this part of it difficult. It's not that working through that part of it is going to be like, there are teams out there that want Yusuf Nurkic. I know that for a fact. And here, I'll get it because I know everybody wants to hear the rumor stuff. The rumor line is from when I have, I'm trying to work this without compromising any part of this. How do I say this without getting in trouble?
Oh, Danny's got sources. He's got to protect the sources.
I mean, I do have to a little bit.
Or
Robert Covington has been shopped very hard.
Okay.
Actively shopped. He gone. Yusuf Nurkic has been shopped. But they are not picking up and just speed dial one, working the line.
Which is a mistake in my opinion, but that's fine.
Me too. I agree. But the level of shopping, I believe, goes Cov, Norm, CJ, Nurk.
Nurk is the last one on that list.
Cov has a lot of suitors. Norm has suitors and value. CJ, you have to work harder, and he needs to be gone by next season. That doesn't mean the deadline, by next season. Nurk, you've got to have the other pieces first to move him. You have to have another big.
Yeah, that's fair. But if they're not actively shopping, that also makes me wonder if they are going to contemplate bringing him back, because they're going to say his value is not going to be 12 a year. It's going to be 8 a year, and he'll take that contract and he'll be happy about it.
I am very interested to see what contracts look like this offseason for non-Anfernee Simons types.
I have no idea how to gauge what Nurkic is worth. I just threw out 8. Is it 9? Is it 10?
Is it basically like, I think it ends up being basically a full MLE, which I think is going to be like 10-1.
10-1, yeah, okay.
So
that's as high as I would go. So
27-year-old Yusuf Nurkic getting 440.
That's too long. That's too long. It's got to, if you're going to do that, and again, I've made my stance very clear. If you do it, 4 is too long. You cannot be doing. Why do we do this? Why do we
team option on the 3 year, the team option 4th?
No. 3 years with a 2 year and a team option 1. Like, that's the max I will go. And I will.
But now I've got you committed to signing Yusuf Nurkic back.
No, I'm playing the game. You know my opinion. If I'm the general manager, I'm shopping this big dude. I can't believe we're getting to this point. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is a reality show. Like, this isn't real life. This team hit the worst mark you could hit last year. And their solution was bring this back and blame one dude. And then this season happens and their idea is like,
let's try it again.
Tweak it. Don't break it completely. Let's try it again. I don't know. I think I might be Looney Tunes. Maybe I'm out to lunch.
No, I'm with you there. Cooper says he's the second best on the center on the market behind Ayton. Here's the difference. Yusuf Nurkic is a UFA. Ayton is an RFA. Also, Ayton is already better than Yusuf Nurkic, and he's 6 years younger, supremely more athletic, and has shown the ability to do a ton. Also,
Ayton's going to get paid.
Ayton's going to get paid. He anchored a defense that was in the NBA Finals.
Yes, Nurkic anchors a defense that gets bounced in the first round of the playoffs.
He did. I was just say the Western Conference Finals, and I was like, wait, no,
he didn't play. Enes Kanter played. We forget that too, don't we? The farthest they went, he didn't even play. And that's not to say like it's his fault. I don't know. I've said my piece, I guess. Let it go. Be with God. Yeah. And if you want to bring Yusuf Nurkic back, that's okay.
I will say this. This is my personal stance. If you bring Yusuf Nurkic back next season, you are a patently unserious franchise. I don't believe anything you say about competing. I don't believe anything you say about building around Damian Lillard. You are full of shit.
Well, I said it a different way, but
I can't take. I celebrated getting rid of a guy who had a vision that was twisted, and he was a shitty human being.
Oh, such a bad vision, though. Like, aside from just being a shitty human being,
but like both things. Vision. Like Joe, I've heard from all accounts is a good dude, and he looks at the game differently.
I hope so.
But if here's where I ultimately
feels
come
like
back
Joe
to.
O'Shea right now.
And here's where I ultimately come back to. As bad as Neil was, and he was bad, and he was responsible for a lot of the bad decisions. Him, not ownership. I wonder if Joe is being handcuffed. If it gets to that, and Yusuf Nurkic is on this team next year without having significant value increases between him and Dame, and I mean that the 3 and the 4. Like if Nurk's back on this team and it's John Collins at the 4 and Jaylen Brown at the 3, I'm like, all right, you're a pretty serious franchise. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I will change my tune. I told you guys I have no problem being wrong and changing an opinion.
But if it's Jeremy Grant and Josh Hart, or Nas, and then I'm gonna go, that's not real serious.
Yes,
you talked about being like real switchable, and you added one dude.
You said something there that kind of strikes me, and I have to ask you, who, if it's not Joe Cronin, why would there be some kind of backdoor don't move him? Like, why? What does the organization benefit with that?
I don't know. That's why I'm like,
That's why I said the other day we had one of the people in the chat like saying the Joe Cronin, Neil O'Shea stuff. Like, are we sure they're different? And I see what your point is of like he's made some moves, but I really think people that are kind of like me that are thinking these similar thoughts. We gotta see the moves be made, man. Like that's the thing that this team has not done. That's when you start making a big serious move. And to me, I don't even put Rocco in that category. That's a given. That's happening.
Yeah, no, he's that's
I'm talking about 2 of the 3. You make those moves, then I will be like, okay, Joe Cronin is not Neil O'Shea.
You immediately become goated at that point in time because you're not Neil? Oh. And listen, and I say all of this about being pissed off next year. I am not like actively like, dude.
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
I am genuinely getting to the, hey, listen, if they don't make all the moves at the trade deadline, it is what it is. Now, if they don't move Cove and Nurk or one or the other at the deadline, particularly Cove, because we know he's gone, then that's kind of financial malfeasance, and that, again, irritates me. And I'm not talking about from like a profit and loss standpoint. I'm talking about from asset management. And like,
I mean, that's so bad, asset management.
And Neil was bad at that. Neil took all those contracts from 2016 and turned them into Hassan Whiteside, who walked. Got nothing out of it. And the Blazers are still trying to recover from that because in 2017 they used 2 draft picks to move up and get Zach Collins, and they used 2 draft picks to go get Robert Covington. So you use 4 draft picks and all of that salary cap space in 2016, and you turned it into what? And so if the Blazers are intent on doing that again, that's a problem. We'll get out of here on this because it's Friday night. Never mind, we're good.
Let me say real quick because I don't have much more on this. Okay. I've said my piece. I just want to add to what you just said, and then we can go. But I just want to throw in what you just laid out from the 15-16 team that way overachieved and only got to the second round because Blake Griffin and Chris Paul got hurt. Let's not forget that. You just highlighted the problem with this, that if you continue to be okay settling, you end up playing catch up. And that's what Neil ended up doing, but nobody wanted to be loud about it. Nobody wanted to write or talk about that. Like, people would criticize Neil, but nobody really wanted to point that out, that like every bad decision he made, starting with that team, and it just went bad decision. What the fuck are you doing in the draft? You're always playing catch up. And then you're to a point where you're like, I think Zach's the guy. I think Zach's the guy. What do we do? Let's trade both of our first. We're going to move up. We're going to get this guy. You got to that point, and that was clearly the mistake of mistakes, but it stemmed from what you did the year prior, and then giving out 4-year, $40 million contracts to every human being on this team that asked for one. You play catch up if you are afraid to make real movement, and that terrifies me.
And that's where I sit here and I go, I'm not going to judge Joe until then. We look at the roster next year.
That's fair.
Do I want to see activity at the deadline? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. Do I want to see like one of CJ or Norm gone at the deadline? Yes, I do. Absolutely, unequivocally. I understand the conditions that are there. Dimitri asked, can we get a first for Rocco? I think that boat has sailed. If you can, more power to you. I think if it is a first, it's a heavily protected first that ends up turning into 2 seconds, or it's just a straight 2 seconds. But on the rumor side of things, one of the other things that Jake Fisher did have in his piece that I thought was really interesting that hasn't gotten a ton of traction was that there was a possibility that Detroit would entertain Norm for Jeremy Grant.
That was really odd to me. I'm glad you brought that back up because we didn't talk about that. That was really weird to me. Why would Detroit do that?
Because Dwayne Casey coached Norman Powell and has a lot of love for him, and probably Norm would want to play for him.
You get to play alongside. Yeah, I mean, at least Cade Cunningham's big, so you could excuse him being 6'3" as kind of year 2. I
mean, realistically, yeah, you can. They are a bigger team.
Sadiq Bey's what, 6'7"?
Yeah, like they've got, and you've got
Cade, Norm, Sadiq. Like
Beef Stew is like 6'9", 6'10", but he's
that's right,
260.
Yep.
And I was like, listen now.
If that's what it takes.
If you can trade Norm and I almost called him Plumlee, Zeller, the other white group of college basketball players that have brothers that all played in college, and Zeller's dead money for Jeremy Grant, and maybe take on not a bad deal, but take on a deal like a Corey Joseph for an extra year that gives them a little bit more cap space. That whatever you got to do to kind of make that work without taking on toxic money. That's great. Listen. That's a move. Now, I don't think there's a real opportunity for that. The other part of this is this is pure speculation, but there's a giant contingent of Knicks fans that want Julius Randle gone. Well, he's been terrible this year. He has not been great. How come I rant for like 5 minutes about things, and then you share your opinion by saying, this team is fucking stupid. Then when we get to players, I tell you, he's been terrible. And you go, not great. Like, why do you have that dynamic where you say I like to have a little bit of fun with it. It's not been great. Well, he was the savior last year. They won one game in the playoffs. They looked like idiots. And then they come back and everything's going to be this great team again. And their biggest signing was, let me check, Evan Fournier. And we acted like that was going to do anything for them. And Randall doesn't play as well, and suddenly they're all pissed off again. Typical New Yorker. Weird. It's almost like Tom Thibodeau isn't a wizard. Oh, it's nuts, isn't it? Suddenly he was beloved by everybody. God, what do you mean coaches can't impact defense? Look at the Knicks. And it's like, oh, okay. How are the Knicks doing this year? How's that going? Cool. It's just like, God. But if they said C.J. McCollum for Julius Randle, You're taking it, right? I'm in. Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the. I'm in. His shooting this year has been dreadful. He's 40, 25, 72. He would benefit a tremendous amount by not being the one anymore. I mean, like that. Think about. Let me fever dream this real quick. Yeah, go ahead. You send C.J. McCollum for Julius Randle, and you have Dame and Ant. and you somehow find a way to swap Norman Powell for
Jeremy Grant.
And you have Dame, Ant, Grant, Randall. I don't give a shit who you have at center.
Well, that's my point of why you trade Nurkic.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, well, you need to find somebody who can, you can't replace Yusuf Nurkic. And I'm like, no, I don't need to. All I need is somebody who is that's where you go get like a Mo Bamba type. Like you go get a long, athletic, rangy dude, and because if you look around the NBA, let's just take a look at this real quick, because I always like to kind of highlight this, and we'll kind of wrap up on this.
Yeah.
Sort by positions real quick for the season, and we'll sort by scoring, right? Unless you have one of the dudes, Embiid's averaging 29, Jokic 26, Cat 24, AD 23, Porzingis 20, Sabonis 19. Randall 7th, then Valanciunas, then Bam, then John Collins, then Ayton, then Vooch, then Jaren Jackson. Unless you have Nurk 17th in scoring. Evan Mobley's scoring more than him. Rudy Gobert is scoring more than him. Like, his offensive production doesn't have to be that great. Like, Miles Turner's averaging 2 points less. If I told you could get a like Bismack Biyombo's averaging 11 a game coming off the bench lately for the Suns.
Well, he just got back in the NBA too. That's what's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like, it would not be hard to just go find a plug and play big.
Which I'm totally cool with. Like, that's not going to make or break your season.
It's not to undersell Yusuf Nurkic. It's to talk about like how it impacts around the rest of the team. Here's where I run into, like, here's my own pushback. You saw what Yusuf Nurkic did to the Raptors, a team that doesn't really have a traditional big who can. And this is the harder part: finding a guy who can play that rim running defensive guy, but eat up 80 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Nurk can eat up 80 games because of his health. Let's push the number down to 68. I feel like you could get some like real center minutes out of Julius Randle if you put some guys around him. And if, let's say you make all this happen and you had a real fever dream, which I don't expect any of this to come true, so don't go like quote tweeting this. Let's say they take the last bit of what they have and let's say they get that first round pick.
Yeah.
And they take that first round pick and they trade Cove or Nance or whoever, get some young stuff and package up that first round pick and send it off to Indiana and get Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Now
I think that's what you do.
Now it's all really come together. And again, I don't believe any of this shit would happen. But like when you start like going through like the theory of like how important Yusuf Nurkic is, he's important right now because of how shorthanded they are. He's important because he's the only real big they have on the team. He's important because he's the only guy who can give you real rim deterrence and be a defensive anchor. But if you spread that importance out over more than just one dude, that importance falls down.
I mean, LeBron's playing the GD5 for the Lakers this year. Jalen Rose, it's positionless league, man. Like, it's not important to me. Get a 6'10" dude, call it good.
And if they get matched up with the Philadelphia 76ers in the finals, go with
guess
God.
What? Guess who would get eaten alive even if you had him? Yusuf Nurkic. Joel Embiid would dominate Yusuf Nurkic in an NBA Finals. He's going to win the MVP this year.
I hope he does.
He deserves it.
He's been a monster.
They're 26-11 with him. I forget their record. I think they've lost 8 of whatever they've lost this year have been without him.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm a Joel Embiid guy.
Me too.
We went long here, but we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. It's a Friday night. Didn't do the pregame. Had obviously Quick's article spurring a lot of a conversation. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. Share us with your friends. Share us with your family. That's how it grows. Word of mouth. Share us with your friends. Hey, you want to see two idiots talk about the Blazers for a long time? Here you go. Check out the show. That's how this works. So thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. I did have a long meeting yesterday with the guys from Playback. We are doing every game watch party for the rest of the season. And one of the cool things is they are actually actively taking my suggestion to add the ability to get clips during a game. And I will be able to take those clips and bring them and put them up on the screen for everybody. So when we go to a commercial break and when I go, hey, take a look at this,
Yeah.
I could go back and do this and be fake ass Lamar Hurd.
White worse Lamar Hurd.
Fatter, less money, more broken, shorter, less handsome.
More broken inside and out. You know.
But thank you all. We appreciate you. We love you. We're going to add some more stuff, like I said, to the membership. So if you want to become a member, please head to the YouTube channel, click the community page and join, or just youtube.com/DannyMarang/join. The URL is the same. We will catch you guys, Sunday? Sunday matinee game.
I will be on the pre. I will not be able to catch the post,
Yeah, well, I
unfortunately.
figured.
Yeah. 12:30 tip. When do we have those ever?
Yeah, we have usually 2 a year.
I know. I didn't know it was a 12:30 tip.
It's usually the MLK Day game, but they didn't get it this year, so.
I'll tell you what gets me excited. Chicago at 12:30. That's kind of exciting.
It's a fun game. Bummer is they have so many guys out.
I know.
Like Alonso's out, Caruso's out, Levine's out. It's like, oh, man. But it'll still be a fun game. I said OKC first. They go to Chicago, then OKC for some stupid reason. What? Oh, okay, whatever. But cool. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll catch you guys then. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Find us on social media at Jack Ramsays, at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague. You can email the show, jackramsays@gmail.com. We love you. Thank you all so very much. You all have a wonderful night, a great weekend.